Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Mike, and it's Saturday morning. It's Multifamily Unplugged. Glad that you are here. And I am certainly looking forward to the conversation with our guest this morning, but we'll get to that in a minute. One word I want to throw out this morning that I just want you to think about and see where you're at, but curious. Are you curious about your life, about what's going on? Are you curious about how you're doing a project, or how you can improve maybe your underwriting model, or how you can improve the construction on a project that you're currently doing? You know, I think that when we stay curious, we stay in education, we keep learning and keep growing as a result of that. And, you know, I always like to talk about that. None of us grow professionally unless we're growing personally. And I think a lot of that, if we stay curious about life, stay curious about other people and what's going on around us, that it helps us grow. So, hey, if you're new to the show, welcome. I'm glad that you're here this morning. I don't know if somebody told you about us, or invited you to come, or you saw something on Facebook or one of the other social media platforms, but I'm glad you're here. If you're out on YouTube watching us live, smash the subscribe button. We're here every week, but throughout the week, we deliver great content, new information, tips, topics that'll help grow your business, help grow your multifamily portfolio, or take it to the next level, teaching you how to underwrite or raise private capital, whatever you're working on. And this morning, I hope we get into a lot of that. So if you are on Facebook, follow our Facebook group, Multifamily Unplugged. Go join the group. Always bringing out information. And over there, you're going to hear everything about our upcoming events, whether they're live or they're webinars. You're going to hear about our Multifamily Unplugged and those guests and when those come out. So glad that you're here. If you have questions along the way this morning, throw them in the comments. We'll get them answered for you. And let me tell you a little bit about my guest. This morning, I'm joined by Matt Shields. Matt's from Akron, Ohio, and we all know I'm in Chicago. So I always like to talk to other multifamily people from other areas and see what they're doing and how they're looking at the business. He's with significant lifestyle communities, and let's bring Matt in and talk to him a little bit about what he's doing. Morning, Matt.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for getting up. And are you on Eastern time or Central time?
I am on Eastern okay. Time.
All right. So you're a little later than.
Yep. We're on the other side of the line there.
Yeah. I wonder if they're ever really going to change that so that everybody's on the same time.
Who knows?
Crazy. But hey, so Matt, one question I always like to start with in the morning with my guests is, in one word, what best describes you personally or professionally?
I was going to say inquisitive, but your definition pretty well outlined that exactly. But I completely agree. Always stay curious. Always keep trying to learn. No matter how good you think that you have it, there's always other ways to be able to better yourself, better your process, better your thinking. Always ways to improve. So if you are curious, if you're always learning, you're always going to be bettering yourself, bettering your life, bettering the lives of people around you. So
100%. You know, I always say that if you're the smartest guy in the room, you better pick a new room to go to.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
And, I've been doing this 30 years and I still keep learning. And that's why I love doing these podcasts, because I'll have somebody like yourself on. And, you might say something that sparks, a new idea for me, or, hey, maybe I should go try this or test this or something. So that's the power behind podcasting, and listening to podcasts and listening to other professionals. So
yeah, you never know what kind of connections you're going to make, ideas you're going to get. So love it.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
No problem.
So tell us a little bit about you. I know we got connected somehow by somebody. I don't know, one of our assistants or something got us together, but this is really the first time we get to chat, and I always love that. So why don't you give a little background and history on yourself?
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years now or so. I haven't worked for anyone for quite a long time, except for myself. I used to have an electrical contracting company that morphed into a technology company a number of years ago. So the technology company was doing well and got the itch to start investing in real estate, which I did some research, found Grant Cardone, really liked what he had to say, but couldn't really get behind him as a person. So I found Jake and Gino, joined that group, partnered with a partner of mine about 5 years ago or so, and we've been buying multifamily real estate ever since then. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Good for you. And so, are you? Where do you like to buy multifamily? How do you choose your markets?
Yep. So we always look obviously at the growth of the area. Are people moving there? That's number one, right? So we're searching a lot in the Sunbelt areas. Right now we've got property in Atlanta, Houston, and we actually have our first new development project that we're just getting kicked off here. That is in Peachtree City, which is the Atlanta suburb.
Okay.
Then we also have a large portfolio in the Cleveland market, because I'm here in the Shaker Heights area. If you're familiar with Cleveland, Shaker Heights is a nice suburb of Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
So.
And I know Shaker Heights, so I understand. I know where you're at there in that market. So, do you have a lot of units under management?
We've got about 7. I think we're at 720 right now under management. Okay. So fair number.
That's a good number.
Yeah. And we sold 3 properties last year as well. So we're looking to get that back up again. But with what we have under contract right now, we should be over about 1,200 or so here in a few months. So
do you syndicate your deals, or are you private capital?
No, we do. We do syndicate them. Obviously we invest in all of them as well as we're growing the snowball, if you will. So we do also invest in all of our deals, but it is all syndicated.
Yeah. And so talk a little bit about your buying box. What's your strategy? What do you guys like to own and buy?
Yeah. So we will go after some of the larger or some of the older assets out there. I know that a lot of people shy away from anything post 1980 or pre 1980, I should say. But we've got quite a few in our portfolio that are older than that. We've got a great team behind us who understand and know how to be able to manage all of the issues that might present themselves in the older assets, which is exactly why we're in Shaker Heights too. That's a pretty classic area. There's a lot of older assets in that market. So our buy box, again, we're always looking for value add opportunities, again, in areas that are growing, where there's that high demand for the rental units. So at a very, very high level, that's what we're looking for. And then we also, I should say, are looking for properties that are 200 units plus. So we don't want to go after any of the smaller assets or anything like that. We've obviously grown up through those. We've had those before in the past, but it's a lot more difficult to be able to manage the smaller assets. Obviously, there's not enough scale there to be able to hire a team and all of that. And we're doing all of this remotely too, for the most part. So like I handle all of the operations, and yes, I'm local to Shaker Heights, but I also manage the properties in Houston and Atlanta and all of that. So it's, again, you need to have that on-site local representation, and you need the scale to be able to make that happen. So,
yeah. So are you property managing your own stuff, or just asset managing?
No, we do both. Okay. So we do all the property management. So we have our own property management company. And that's where the majority of the work is in, managing the property management side of things, and managing the on-site staff and all of the complexities that are created, with having tenants in all of those buildings.
Yeah, I always say that's where the heavy lifting is, right?
It really is, yeah.
And yeah. I don't think the property management team people, on-site people, get enough credit, because they work pretty hard. It's
without a doubt. They're the key to renewals and whatnot. If they're not serving customers, not providing good customer service, you're not going to have a good renewal rate whatsoever. Right. So absolutely key in the entire process.
So let's talk about product a little bit. So you go in, you buy these C-class deals, and they're older. They're 1960s, 1970 product. A lot of times, are you buying them from existing operators or from mom and pop operators? Who's your seller typically?
I would say typically operators, other owner operators. We've done a few mom and pop type organizations where, again, maybe they've run it for 30, 40, 50 years in some cases. So we've done both, but for the majority of the time, we're always dealing with other owner operators.
Yeah. And so what challenges are you seeing with that product class from a physical obsolescence as well as an operational obsolescence? What things are you seeing that maybe cause the most value, so you could go in, fix that, and it gives you more value?
Yeah. So again, we look for specific assets in specific areas. So again, in Northeast Ohio, we specifically focus in on Shaker Heights. What we found in Shaker Heights is that there's many apartments in Shaker Heights, but they are all what we refer to as legacy. So they're all, vintage units. They're not updated at all. They haven't been painted. They're still using, whatever the yellow color was that everyone uses. Outdated kitchens. Some of the kitchens are still the metal cabinets and all of that. So when you do small things in that type of market, you stand out a lot because there's a lot of people that live in Shaker Heights and a lot of apartments available in Shaker Heights. But when your competition is all behind on the renovations, you don't need to do much to stand out. So obviously we go through and we paint everything. And we actually, one of the things that we do a little bit differently than what a lot of other companies do is we will allow the person who's moving into the apartment to choose the color of their accent wall, right? So we have a base color that gets painted throughout the apartment. And then the new member that's coming in gets to choose from a palette of, I think it's either 8 or 10 different colors, but they can choose from a palette to paint one wall, whatever color they want. And then they can choose other walls to paint for an additional cost if they want. But what we found is that slight tweak allows them to feel like they are like this is theirs. They have a little bit more ownership into this property. So we found that people take better care of the property when they participate in that type of decision. So, wow. So it works really, really well. A little bit more work on the CapEx side of things or the operational team, depending if it's just a small turn. But we found that it's worth it in the long run.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Here we go back to being inquisitive, right? Curious. Yep, and I'm thinking that might not be a bad idea to try in a couple locations to see if that works a little bit more with not necessarily quality of tenant, but the care that the tenant takes of that unit. So that's pretty neat. Where did you come up with that idea?
Are you ready to skyrocket your investment portfolio and leave a legacy? Are you tired of inconsistent returns received in the stock market? Do you think it may be time to take a look at alternative investment options for your portfolio? Passive investing in multifamily real estate could be that option. With no tenants, trash, or toilets, providing a solid return on an annual basis that outperforms traditional investing, also receiving a monthly or quarterly return along the way. These lower risk and secure assets are a great hedge against inflation. If you want to learn more about these types of opportunities, you can email me directly to schedule a 15-minute consultation to see if you qualify. Just email me at mike@mikemorawski.com.
So this goes back to, I guess, the curious side of things as well, and knowing where you want to get your information from. So I mentioned how I found Grant Cardone, and I mentioned how I joined Jake and Gino. My partner and I always have had the mindset of let's reach out to other people that are doing this, have done this before. Let's not try to reinvent the wheel or anything. So we have a mentor that was very, very successful in the business over the course of about 20 years or so. He's no longer in the business, but we basically inherited all of his things that he was doing in his properties over the course of about 20 years or so. And that was one of the things that he did to stand out in his markets.
It's pretty interesting. I always say success leaves clues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
We all learn from people either by their mistakes or by their successes. So.
Yep. And that when you are in a situation when you feel like you're making a mistake or you feel like you've quote unquote failed, right? That's when you need to be paying attention, because that's when you're learning what not to do, what to do differently, right? So always people get down and bashful about those types of situations, but that's always when you're going to learn the most. So you need to be paying attention.
Right. Hey, let me ask you this. Where do you find that you get your biggest bang for the buck, say? Is it on your interiors or your exteriors?
This is actually an interesting question. We've talked about this for quite a while. And I feel like in most markets, it's probably the exteriors, right? Mm-hmm. So I've talked a lot about the Shaker assets. In Shaker Heights, they're very, very restrictive on what you can do on the exterior. It's a very classic neighborhood. They don't want you to paint buildings or anything like that. So we can't have major changes to the curb appeal. We can do landscaping and all of that. But for the most part, it's pretty minute what you can do on the exterior. But we've had other assets that, like we have an asset in Riverdale, Georgia, which is another suburb of Atlanta. Fortunately, that one is literally right across the street from the elementary and middle school. So literally the entire city drives by that property every single day. But we painted the exteriors of that. It was really, really nice modern look. We put in some like modern wood looking facade, if you will. So just the contrast of painting the brick and having this modern wood look changes the property look completely. So we have walk-ins all the time there, literally 5-6 walk-ins every day, where we don't even do any marketing and we have a waiting list of people. So, we've seen this happen a number of times. When you do that curb appeal and you update that curb appeal, you do often have a lot more walk-in inquiries about that particular asset. Now, obviously you can't have a nice looking outside and then just a dilapidated interior as well. So there is a level that you have to upkeep there. But from a pure traffic and ability to be able to get people in the door and get people excited about living there, it's all about first impressions and having that presentation that stands out, or again, just pops out to people because they might have been driving past that same building for years and years and never notice it. And you change something, now it all of a sudden pops out to them, and they'll come in and ask.
So that little bit more than just beyond the banner that says under new ownership or new management, or.
Yeah. I mean, we've done the banners too, and maybe you get a little bit of a bump from it, but in our experience, it hasn't really done all that terribly much. You need to, again, wake people up and make sure that they actually see that there's something different here, right? And that can be difficult to do. So it needs to be a major transition, in our opinion, that people know that there is something different here and there is money being put into this, and this is someplace I should go and check out. And that's what we found. So
yeah. Hey, what's the pricing difference between your Peachtree property and your Shaker Heights properties, per square footage? So if you looked at your rents per square footage, what's your price difference, or is there one?
There actually isn't one that is that terribly dramatic. I will say that the Atlanta properties are easier to rent. We have a longer waiting list of people down there rather than in the Northeast Ohio area, right? In Northeast Ohio, basically all winter, not really many people will move, whereas down south, people will move more in the summer, but they will move all year long, right? So there's definite leasing seasons in the Northeast Ohio area. So, we're busy from basically May through, call it August, September, October a little bit, and then it basically dies off for the rest of the year. So
that's interesting. Yeah, I'm finding that in that product class, pricing tends to be pretty close.
yeah.
It's depending, not too market dependent.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Apartment IQ by
I have
chance?
not.
No.
No.
So we just started using that, and it's a great product that they're tied into Yardi, they're tied into RealPage. So I think RealPage, we used to use something called, I think it was LRO, if I remember correctly. But basically, it ties into the various different property management softwares, and then we'll give you what they're leasing out these units. You'll know that this property has 15 2-bedrooms available, and this unit is whatever, $1,500 a month. This one's $1,200 a month. This one's $1,300 a month. And it gives you the average for the square foot too. So you know exactly what all your competition is doing. So it's a great way to be able to stay up to date as to market changes, right?
I imagine it's got to help you on your underwriting too when you're first looking at a deal and you're comparing a couple different properties in the area.
It does. It definitely works once you have properties in an area. So the way that their contract works is, they'll set you up with your various different assets. So if you're already in a market and you've applied for their service and you're trying to bring on more assets in that market, you absolutely can compare those prices. But I wouldn't be able to go and say, like, we're in Northeast Ohio and there's a property in Denver, let's go and compare Denver. I can't go and look at those assets.
Yeah, right. So who puts out Apartment IQ?
I mean, if you go, I think it's apartmentiq.io. I think that's, I'm not quite sure what the name of the company is. It's not affiliated with any of the other major companies or anything right now.
I was wondering, like you mentioned Yardi, so I didn't know if it was part of Yardi.
No.
But okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that. That's interesting. See? Two things.
There you go. That's two learnings already.
Love this game. So, what are you guys looking at right now?
Like I said, we are actually going to put our hat in the ring to start doing some new construction. That's Peachtree City, where that's being built at. We have another opportunity in Houston that is very, very close to getting under contract. And then we also have another opportunity in Chattanooga that we're working on as well. So those are the things that are in the pipeline. Some things are a little bit closer than others, but those are, the next 2 or 3 projects that are probably going to happen.
So what's your skill set on your team? Are you underwriting? Are you relations? What's your skill set?
Yeah, so I am more on the operations side. Again, I've run companies for 25 years or so. So I handle all of the, all the day in, day out, managing all of the teams and people and projects and all of that type of thing. So, that's where I kind of play the role. And then my partner handles a lot of the, we also have an analyst as well. So he handles a lot of the underwriting, and then both of us will, give our input as to what the plan should be, how much we should be doing, in the various different, the various different properties and units and all of that. So, are you finding deals penciling right now, or are you? It can be tough. What we're starting to see, and I would say that over the course of the last maybe 2 months or so, we've started to see a lot more opportunities from, people that are in positions where they need to sell, they need to get out of the asset. So those ones, when there's that level of urgency, it's a little bit easier to be able to make them pencil out to there's a little bit more flexibility where people aren't sticking their flag in the sand and saying, nope, I need this much money in order to be able to make this deal work. So I actually just walked a property yesterday that, there's some turmoil and whatnot going on there. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah. Interesting. Is that in one of those markets like Knoxville or?
What I just walked yesterday was actually another Shaker Heights portfolio. So yeah.
So a bigger amount of product.
We'll say it's not necessarily bigger than what we already have there, but it's to add to what we already have. So, we've got the property management team, we've got all the tools there. So we're looking to be able to expand. That's what we always do is we'll get into an area and then it just makes sense to try to find other assets in that area to be able to expand on the assets, tools, things that you already have in the area.
Yeah. So I find that interesting. It's kind of funny because I had underwritten, my analyst and I had underwritten, no kidding, 90 deals between June and January, about $1 billion in assets. And they were all like B-class assets, right? 1985 and newer. And, 10 LOIs, 7 times to the final round, 3 times to the best of the best, and walked from deals for $300,000 to $500,000 just because it didn't make sense anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm seeing some of those deals come back on the market. Some of those deals that got bought at the higher price with people are still trying to raise capital on those deals.
Yeah.
So it's interesting when you're doing a lot of underwriting how you can kind of watch the trend and see things happening. But here's what happened, right? Somebody brings us a deal in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I go, Tulsa, what's going on in Tulsa? And I started to look at the market and I said, and I probably shouldn't be saying this live because now you're going to get all the,
all the meat. Yep.
Smart money going there, right?
Yep.
But, now people are looking at Tulsa and I'm looking at, you got aerodynamics, transportation, medical, education, all kinds of other things going on. If you're a golfer, they just had a pro-am there in town. So, Tulsa's on the map. And so we find a deal there, not a B-class asset, a C-class asset. And I'm like, God, do I really want to do this? But as I got into it, and we're buying it right, but the deeper I get into it and the deeper I get into the market as we've been going through this process, all the signs say that this is where you should be right now in this marketplace, is maybe in some of these older assets in, emerging market, right? Not something, like I think Atlanta is going to come back as an emerging market next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you just got to watch the trends, I guess, and do enough underwriting to really get a feel for what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting when you start seeing that coming back to you and you're able to learn from other people's failures or what's going on in that market. Again, that's what I was saying before. You always want to either learn from your own failures or learn from what other people are doing that isn't working. And you can start to develop all of those insights that you start paying attention to. So that's great that and obviously you need to be able to have the volume to compare that to, right? So you said you underwrote 90 different assets, 90 different deals. So that's quite a bit of volume to be able to start seeing what's working, what's not working, how things are penciling out, and what are the standout opportunities then at that point. So,
or non-standout opportunities, right?
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, and I love both sides of the aisle in that product class. So I like to find things that physically I can go in and make enhancements to, as well as on the operation side. And this thing is run so poorly by the current owner that it's just a lot of upside. I got to circle back for a minute because you mentioned metal cabinets in the kitchens. And I always love metal cabinets that are rusting and they're chipping and you're wondering how people are cooking or eating food around that old lead paint and, interesting.
Yep. Yeah, no, they're still out there. There's quite a few of them in Shaker Heights. So
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about raising capital a little bit. Obviously, you guys are syndicating your deals. How's the environment today for raising capital? what techniques or systems are you using to do that?
Yep. So I would say that it's been interesting over the course of the last year or so. There's been a lot of people that have kind of fallen off the wanting to invest in multifamily. Everybody's sort of in this wait and see, wonder what's going to happen type situation, right? So we have had quite a, I don't want to say turn because the investors are still there, but we have had quite a few people that have said, no, we're going to wait and see what happens. But there are our core investors, and we're obviously looking for more that are looking at this as an opportunity. This time, again, we're starting to see these different assets popping up that are have various hair with them or issues with them that they're trying to get past, right? They're trying to get over that and create a profit, if you will, or get out of an asset. So we're starting to capitalize on some of those types of things. So with that, the current investor base is telling other investors that we have these opportunities that are coming up. So I feel like this is still something that goes back to the deal flow. If you have the right type of deal and you have enough investors and you advertise that to the investors, those investors obviously want that deal to happen. So if we don't have enough, we always, one of the strategies that we like to use is, hey, who else should we be talking to? Do you know anyone else that would be interested in this asset, in this area? And pretty well every time, yeah, you got to go meet Joe, right? I'll introduce you. So we're kind of using our investor base to be able to bring in additional investors into the deals as well, because again, if the deal goes forward, then everybody wins from it. And then, more on the technical side of things, we use LinkedIn and a bunch of different advertising campaigns and whatnot to be able to attract people into our various different opportunities as well. So that whole system there's all kinds of different tools and everything that are used in there. So I don't even know what all of them are. I didn't set any of that up, but there's quite a system that's set up on that side of things. Yeah. So, and I will also say too, one of the main things that we found is that focusing in on a specific type of person, so that insert whatever name you want, right? So this could be focusing in on doctors or dentists, or what we always do is we'll go back to our backgrounds, right? So for me, I've always been an entrepreneur. So I try to attract other business owners, other people that are, out there making things happen themselves. My partner has a background in IT sales. So he specifically focuses on IT salespeople. That industry, that language. So being able to attract those types of people are, much, much easier when you're able to do that. So
yeah. I agree with that 100%. What's funny is I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago out in Vegas, and they had a panel of doctors. And one of the guys said pretty much what you just said. He said, when I first got my hands in multifamily, he goes, I started calling every doctor in Canada. He was from Canada. And he said, before I knew it, there were no more doctors in Canada I could call. So then I started calling doctors in the US. And he's built this database, which I think in our business is so critically important for raising capital, is you have to build a good, solid database of individuals that invest with you, refer you to others, and that's how you build that business. So you're definitely saying the same thing, really. What is your typical investor look for return wise today in a deal? So your limited partner.
Yep. So we will, our deals, we're normally, call it 12 to 15% IRR is normally what we're putting together. And the investors that we're attracting are good with that. So I would say that that's what most people are looking for, at least in our network. With everything that we show them that we've done, everyone feels comfortable with that. What we found is we've come across different opportunities that pencil out where we can make more, and this is what normally ends up happening. There'll be a better return there. but we'd rather under promise and over deliver rather than promise the 20% return and then only be able to do 17, which is still great, but we don't want to necessarily over promise and under deliver. So each deal pencils out a little bit differently, but 12 to 15% is about where we're at.
Where do you think you're most conservative today in your underwriting? Is it are you buying them right, or is your rent growth? Where are you being most conservative?
Most conservative meaning underestimating the potential as much as we can. I would say probably the rent targets. We're trying to be, again, we don't necessarily know what's going to happen with the various different areas. Again, we're focusing in on those hot areas, but we want to be able to not necessarily shoot for the stars, right? With those rent growths. So we are going just over what the average is today. We feel that they're still going to be, inching up, but we have also seen in some markets where those rents have decreased as well. So I would say on the, those rent targets, we're not trying to push them like what we were a few years ago.
Yeah. Interesting. Good for you. So what's the long-term vision for you?
Oh man. So this is actually interesting. So we also belong, and again, this gets back to surround yourself with people that are doing well. We actually belong to a group called DLP Capital. And actually I just got back in from an event of theirs Tuesday night. But anyway, part of that process is we fill out what's called a compass, right? And on this compass, it outlines everything that we're striving for, your mission statements, your BHAG, where we want to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. We want to tackle this, accomplish this. So one of the targets that we want to be able to, one of my personal targets that I want to be able to impact is we've set a goal to eradicate dog euthanasia. So I love dogs, huge dog lover. And that's a cause near and dear to my heart. And what I've done is I've talked to other multifamily real estate investors as well. And we've actually found a few other people that are interested in this as well. So we're still exploring what exactly that looks like. What are all the issues? How do the dogs get into this situation? Healthcare, all of that stuff. And then adoption, we got into this because we realized we've got all of these homes that, we want to have people to have pets in there because it's also good for business because we charge a pet fee, right? So why not help get the dogs from wherever they're at into some of our homes where they can, where they can live great lives. So from a long-term goal perspective, that's one of the goals that we have, but we've got that all planned out as well, where we know, again, in order to be able to achieve this, we've got to break that down into the 2, 3, 5-year goals. And then we can tell whether or not we're on target, we're off target, all of that. So. Yeah.
Interesting. Good for you. That's pretty cool. I don't know that I've ever heard somebody kind of outside the box like that talk about, being supportive of dogs.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Or animals in any capacity.
Yeah. So, I mean, the way that we look at this is, and this is the way that really any business is, right? The business itself can obviously generate a lot of wealth, but it can be a vehicle to be able to impact something else that you're passionate about, right? Obviously the goal, everybody says, I want to be wealthy. I want to, have this legacy wealth, all of that. But that isn't necessarily the thing that you really want. You want to be able to, have the security and provide for your family and all of those things. But then after that, what do you do with it, right? So there's these other things that you can focus in on to, be able to impact and use that business as a vehicle to be able to make that impact.
Yeah, sure. Pretty neat. Good for you. Well, what are you working on now? Is there anything we can do as a community, my listeners, to help you or support you? How do we work for you?
Yeah, so we are actually working on, which we didn't get into this, we're calling it Multiwiser, multiwiser.com, right? So this is not out yet, but one of the problems that we've faced from an operational standpoint is just documenting the progress of whatever is going on in the unit, right? So whether that be construction or, we're replacing this kitchen or the roof needs to be replaced over on this building. So we manage our construction projects a little bit differently than what a lot of people do. And basically this is going to be a platform that allows us to more or less create the plan in a visual way so that everyone can be on the same page. So when we initially take over a project, we would build that project. We would, show the land we need to, cut the grass and get the leaves done. And, we've got 11 different buildings on the property. Building 1 needs a new roof and all of that. So we, take all of these picture documentations and we organize it basically the way that the property is set up, right? So you have the land, is kind of the whole scope, if you will. Then you have each individual building, and each individual building on the exterior is going to have its various different things that need to be done. And then on an apartment by apartment basis, you've got building A, and then there's apartment 1A and 2A, 3A, however the numbering system works there. Inside building 1A, this is what the kitchen looks like, and we're going to replace the cabinets and, flooring and all of that type of stuff. So then as that project progresses, the people on the site will also take pictures to be able to update everything so that, especially toward the end, you understand what's left, what kind of conditions these homes are in, what was done in the homes. The banks are always asking, show us pictures. Even when we go and sell an asset, brokers and whoever it is want to know what was done. So this creates this nice presentation to be able to say, here's everything. This is what it looked like. This is what it, this is what it is today. And along with all of that, and this is probably another learning for you. So in my technology company, we manage our technology projects using a Scrum philosophy, which I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Scrum or not. Yeah. But basically what you do is you create your list of all of the different projects that you have, right? So I just was going through kind of high level, building A needs to have roof done and gutters replaced and needs to be painted, and there's a loose hand railing over here. So you would go through and you create that entire list, and what you end up doing is you apply a weight to each one of those items, right? So everyone knows what a Gantt chart is. Yeah. In my experience, Gantt charts have never been right. I don't think I've ever seen an accurate Gantt chart in my entire life. So that's a waste of time. So we use this as a way to be able to determine when is this project going to be done. And we do that by creating this list, and you apply weights to it. And the weights, I can't show anyone right now, but we basically have there's 9 different numbers that we use, and we display each number with pictures of dogs. Again, love dogs, right? So number 2 is this little tiny cute little toy poodle. Number 21 is this, ravenous snarling wolf looking thing, right? So what you do is, if you feel like you have a project that is, a pack of snarling wolves, it's more than just one wolf that is staring at you. You need to break that down into smaller bite-sized chunks, right? So that's too large of a task. So you go through, create all of this list, you apply the weights to everything, and let's just say that you've got 10,000 points. You add them all up, you got 10,000 points at the end. As the crews are going through, checking off, okay, we did this, we did this, we did this, we did this, you end up creating what's called a velocity for that particular project. So you're then able to tell whether crews are slacking off or what's going on. You end up creating this average where you know that, okay, this crew can do whatever it is, 20 points a day or 50 points a day is what their average is. So over the course of a week, 2 weeks, you start creating this average. So if that average drops way down, I know pretty well immediately that, hey, something's going on. What's the delay? What, our crew's not showing up, or what's the issue. You also are able to say, okay, we're able to do whatever 20 points a day, and we've got 10,000 points to do. You're able to say, okay, this is going to take us 6 months to get to the finish line, right? So it allows you to be able to know exactly when things start going downward, when things stop being as productive as what they have been before in the past. And it also allows you to be able to project out into the future that, based on this velocity that we're doing right now, this is when it should be done. So that's the way that we manage all of our construction projects. And that part of the tool is going to be included in these picture documentations as well. So
wow, very insightful. And you guys are working on building that out.
We are, yeah. So part of the technology company, I have a team of people working on that right now. So we're basically building it for us first, and then we'll start making it available to everybody else as well.
Well, let me know when it's ready. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Beta test it for you.
Absolutely. Love to have you do it.
Yeah, for sure. So, hey, listen, it's been great having you here this morning. I appreciate it. Tell people how they get a hold of you.
Probably the easiest is email, which is scrolling across the bottom of the screen here, but it's matt.shields, SHIELDS, @significantlc.com.
Thanks, Matt, for being here. Always like to end with a couple of bonus questions. So what's the best book you've ever read?
Oh, man, there's so many of them. I would say probably one of the most useful is Never Split the Difference.
Oh,
have you heard of that one? Yeah, Chris Voss. Yeah, I mean, obviously negotiation, communication is everywhere in life, whether that be business or family or friends, whatever. So, that's a really, really useful, applicable book.
Awesome. How about best restaurant?
Oh, best restaurant, man. So I'm in Shaker Heights. There's one called Red. There's a steakhouse called Red, which I believe they might have just won one of the more global awards just recently. So very, very good steakhouse. So
nice. Red. So if I ever get to Cleveland, I'll have to
look me up. I'll take you to Red.
I'm actually going to be in Cleveland in June. Buddy of mine got married and they're having a party. So
cool.
Sometime in the next few weeks, I'm out there. So
yeah, let me know. We'll go.
Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate it. It's been great to meet you. Look forward to continuing the relationship and getting to know each other more and seeing how we can maybe sometime at some point maybe work together on something. So,
sounds great. Yeah, perfect.
Thanks for being here. Everybody, we're here every Saturday, Multifamily Unplugged, 10 a.m. Central Time. And I will look forward to talking to you soon. If you need anything along the way throughout the week,